Today I wanted to take a moment to show off the EQ curves of this HAE2 two-channel EQ that I designed and built. This is number 2 and is going to Jeremy, my friend. Just finished calibrating it. HAE2, that stands for Hybrid Analog Equalizer with 2 channels. By hybrid, what I'm talking about is that it's a mixture of passive EQing. So the high pass, the low, mid, and high bands are all passive. And then we have this active section where you can boost or cut at 2 different frequencies each. And it's also hybrid because instead of just using ICs or op amps, this actually uses a Class A discrete transistor for all of the active EQ and for the primary makeup gain. Anyways, let's take a look at these kind of cool curves. Right now, looking at Plugin Doctor here, you can see that it's flat and we're in bypass. I'd also like to point out that in the very top end, you can see where it drops down, and that's because of the sampling rate. That's the Nyquist filter built in. So anyways, this is bypass, and simply flipping it into an on state, we get that. Wow. Now this is flat. You can see it's not perfectly flat, but I'd say all the way up till 20 something K we're pretty flat. And right at about 50 or so, it starts dropping slightly. Not tons, but you're not going to use this to pass 10 hertz very well. Moving on, we've got a trim control, and this just adjusts for any gain changes that would be happening. In this circuit, this is actually tied to the output driver, which is an op amp. So very clean adjustment of gain here. Now here comes the high pass filter. When it's off, it's at the 6 position because it's technically down, I think it's like down 6 at about 6 hertz. If we go to the most aggressive setting in the middle, which is 64, you can see it drop off. And at 32, a little less extreme. Totally off. Here's where it starts to get interesting. Let's do some playing around with the low end. Turning it up and all the way up. See how broad that is? Very broad curves. Start bringing it down. Flat again, and let's pull it out. Big chunk of audio out of there. Some of those spiky things are probably because this unit isn't grounded with everything else perfectly and it's out of the rack, and maybe someone can tell me why we got these jagged lines. So on to the mid-range. Let's boost this guy up. Not quite as much range. Very smooth curve. Flat again. When we pull it out, that's what it looks like. Rolling it back to flat. Here comes the top end. Let's go up with that. Very airy. Very airy. Coming back down to flat. And then when we pull it out, on this band, you'll see that it can do much more. And then look at that knee that happens. I found this is really nice on electric bass because it'll give it some growl and then cut any hiss, all with just one move. So far, that's all been passive EQing. Now we've got this active section. And here at the top, this is our boost frequencies. We've got plus 4K or plus 2K. So to the left, boom, a little bump at 2K. Back to flat. And then 4K is actually more around like 3 point something. But 4K looked a little neater on the faceplate. See how kind of tighter those active ones are? And then this is lower mid-range cut. Right around like 500 or so. Yes, it's labeled negative 320. I'll be fixing that in the future. And a negative 10K cut, which I find is really useful on those kind of zingy condenser mics, cheap condenser mics and whatnot. So how would someone maybe use this? Well, first thing that I can think of, and I know it works really well, is kick drum. Say you want to take out a little bit of the mids, just a bit, maybe give it a little bit more girth, and then you want to hear more beater, the 4K is perfect for that. You could even go more metal if you want. Another example I can think of would be back to that cheap condenser scenario. You've got a overly bright condenser mic. Cut a little 10K, maybe boost a little 2K. Done. Neat, huh? Another great use, and because this is 2-channel, you can do stereo, is say you got some overheads that are just a little too bright. Just roll out a little bit of that top. Maybe give it a little bit of low end. See how there's a bit of a bump in the mids? Well, I can kind of carve that out and work it like that. Maybe you need a high pass in there too. Maybe not. That's kind of what we're working with.
If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a like, and please remember to subscribe to the Fuzzywallz channel. Anything you'd like to add? Feel free to leave a comment. And when that final mix is ready for mastering, Fuzzywallz is standing by.